so I posted a video asking, is L. Ron Hubbard coming back? And this was a question that was asked of me years ago, and I posted that clip a few days ago. And so this is in regards to that video. Are Sea Org members or general public aware that Scientology built and maintains various houses, clean and move-in ready, just in case LRH does return, and that they furnish the houses and put out clean clothes for him? Wouldn't they find something wrong with spending a bunch of money for something that isn't supposed to happen? No. And let me tell you why, Rob, and everybody else. Let me see here. Let me get this out of the way. There we go. Okay. There are two kinds of properties that Scientology owns in regards to L. Ron Hubbard. There are historic sites where Hubbard lived, actual houses or homes or properties that Hubbard worked and lived in during the evolution or history of Scientology. For example, there is the founding church in Washington, D.C., which is a building that is now kind of a museum. There is his house in South Africa where he lived, and they've restored that and put it back into museum-style quality representation of how it was, all the furniture, all the little accoutrements, everything all around the place, just like when Hubbard was there. And those are meant to be like museum pieces. There's another place in Arizona, the Phoenix House, and these are kept up and restored and maintained by Sea Org members who I guess live out there or live off the property. And these were meant to be sort of historic landmark sites that Scientology would preserve in order to preserve this legacy and history of Scientology. So over the years, 20, 30, 100 years from now, you could still go to where Hubbard was in South Africa or in New Jersey, in Elizabeth, New Jersey, or in Phoenix, Arizona, and see these historic properties. Then, hey, Denmark. Then you would see, then you have something like, I think it's called Bonneville, or there are properties like there's this big, huge house that they built for him on the Gold Base in San Jacinto and near Hemet. And, oh, wow, Kiwi Land. That is awesome. Sorry, just responding to some of the comments as I glance at them. Okay, so the Bonneville, or this big mansion, or this sort of estate property that they built in the middle of the Gold Studio property, seems to be a house where Hubbard could go if he were to come back. And all of the churches of Scientology also have an office that is dedicated to L. Ron Hubbard. So if Hubbard, were to walk back into any church of Scientology anywhere in the world, there'd be an office for him to work in. And these offices are supposed to be kept up with a whole list of a roster or laundry list of things that Hubbard would have preferred, like a pack of cool cigarettes and an e-meter and paper and pens and all in books of a certain kind and various things that are supposed to be in the LRH offices. So, anyway, all of these things are presented in two different lights to Scientologists. Scientologists are capable of thinking about these things. Some Scientologists think that maybe Hubbard's coming back, and I'm not saying that no one thinks that, but generally speaking, Scientologists are not anticipating or awaiting Hubbard's arrival back. No one's really doing that, right? There might be some hardcore extreme Scientologists, or maybe I've heard some of the guys who are stuck up in the hole or, under Miscavige's reign of terror might have this idea that Hubbard's coming back. But generally speaking, none of us, I certainly never imagined in all the years that I was in Scientology that Hubbard was coming back this lifetime. That was not lore. That was not a common belief. That was not something we sat around talking about. So you have all these properties, and the properties are meant to be this museum piece thing, this history of Scientology. But it is also meant to be a sign or show of respect, like the L. Ron Hubbard offices are meant to be a sign or show of respect to Hubbard and his memory. And it's a way of keeping his presence alive. And it's a way of keeping him kind of physically still there, even though he's not there. If there was no office there, then it would be easier to forget L. Ron Hubbard. It would be easier to forget that there was a founder and that this guy was, hardcore there. Not really, because of course everything you read and study in Scientology is dedicated to L. Ron Hubbard. But you know what I mean? Physically, there wouldn't be a presence there. And so the fact that there is a physical presence there gives more reality or credence or whatever to Hubbard and his legacy. So that's kind of what that's about. It's not, I'm not saying it's a real crystal clear, Scientologists believe he's coming back or Scientologists don't. It depends on who you talk to. But for the most part, they don't. Okay. So that's what I use to kick off the show here. Let's see what other questions are coming in on the comments as we go along.